This journey from the beginning of the first life on Earth to this day starts from the sea and spreads to the earth and the sky. Today we will talk about this long journey from the single-celled organism that started then to the evolution of all of us in this video. 635 million years ago, the Earth was a snow desert, and little by little the ice on the land has melted. Although it was not a favorable place for life on Earth at this time, it underwent various collisions with time and was changing to suit them. The reason was that the level of oxygen on the Earth was very limited. During this period, there were deserts on the land and the whole Earth was a barren and lifeless place. But due to the changes that happened in the ocean, the basic building blocks of life were being created and a strange life could be seen crawling on the bottom of the sea. It was a very delicate life and did not show any resemblance to the current life on Earth and lived by eating algae. Also, these creatures have blood circulation. It was a simple primitive life without any system or muscles. Due to the first life that arose in this environment, they did not have predators. So they were able to grow very fast and spread all over the ocean floor. Predators developed for the first time at the end of the Ediacaran period, so this situation became a big challenge for the first life. Along with the development of predators in the ocean, other primitive organisms also evolved and got used to living very quickly. That period was not very favorable for slow-moving organisms and predators. The bottom of the ocean became a good haven for this. Because of this, primitive organisms that had spread rapidly became extinct and they had to evolve very quickly to survive. 542 million years ago, our Earth began to change. During this period, even a skeletal system was possessed by this life, and they began to swim and live in the entire ocean. During this period, the evolution of the Earth took place quickly and the beginning of the Panerozoic period. The life that existed in this period, the first was a non-microscopic life visible to the naked eye. This era lasted approximately 56 million years, and by this time, trilobites had spread all over the ocean floor. During this period, not only the creatures but also the concept of prey became a constant in the ocean. Some creatures were created small and some creatures were larger. The body grew with mass and developed the basic foundation for the diversity of living things. All the living things on Earth evolved based on the ability to survive from predators. In this era, many different types of living things were born, and soon life began to grow on the whole Earth. Also, 530 million years ago, a brand new life was evolving. Their name was Hycuahalus, and because of their straight backbone, they became a very special group of creatures in the ocean. The main reason for that was that this creature was the earliest ancestor of all creatures on land. Thus, we can introduce the creature named Pichias as one more creature that evolved from it. Their bodies were flat and they could swim very well in the water due to their flexible skeletal system. Because they could swim, they could protect themselves from predators and live in the ocean for a long time. All the fossils found in this era were only aquatic creatures. Accordingly, all the creatures of this era, it is limited to water only. The fossils found in this period were of wonderful shapes that cannot be seen today. The best example for this is the creature called Anomalocaris. This creature is a 60 centimeters large shrimp. Thus, these animals lived in large carnivorous conditions at that time. Along with their fossils, we were able to find the fossil of the oldest creature found on the Earth. That oldest creature was an animal that lived 784 million years ago. Also, due to the round shape of the rocks found in this era, some microorganisms and the algae species had come to the Earth's land little by little. They mostly grew in shallow and hot beaches. The main reason for this was because they got good sunlight and were not attacked by predators. They were able to grow very easily. Due to the accumulation of algae and fungi, they absorbed the nutrients from the decaying materials, and the lichens grew very well, so they played a great role in growing in the land in a very favorable environment for living things. Life in the ocean evolved very efficiently, and this was the beginning of the Ordovician period. The arthropods and mollusks came to rule the seafloor during this period. With the evolution that took place, their bodies had to undergo special adaptations in order to obtain food and protection for the living creatures. These ancient creatures also possessed the devices that are lacking in animals like crabs that live today. Because of this, they got a lot of support to live on land. Also, during this period, the development of jawless creatures also took place. For example, we can point out the landfish creatures. Later, they have developed as cartilaginous sea creatures. Also, during this period, small plants came to the land from the ocean and started to live. They used sunlight to produce food. These plants were able to do this. These types of plants were completely adapted to live on land. However, animals that swam in the ocean did not come to land permanently, and only animals like oysters and crabs lived near the coast. But unfortunately, with the beginning of an ice age, percent of sea creatures, about 50%, became extinct from the earth forever. However, living things had to adapt according to the changes. With this extinction and the adaptation of new organisms, a new era began. This era was called the Silurian, and it lasted from 444 million years to 419. During this period, arthropods ruled the ocean. During this time, the fishes and predators that lived in the sea had to grow with large bodies. That is why the small animals that lived in the ocean came to the land for protection. There are many arthropods that came in this way. They were protected from the sun due to their thick coat and well-developed crab-like bodies. The devices made it easy to survive on land. But they lived only on the beach. The main reason for that was that they needed moisture to breathe. But they had no shortage of food, and the algae that grew on the beach provided a very good diet for these creatures. During this period, predators had developed their bodies so that they could swim fast after their prey. Due to these reasons, animals such as crabs came to live on land. So they got the protection they lost from predators on land. Likewise, the earliest ancestors of all insects living on land today. These animals can be introduced as. Also, with the end of this era, the beginning of the Devonian era was marked, and it started 419 million years ago. During the era, different algae evolved, and they were able to cover the whole earth and grow. Because lichen and algae did not have the proper root system needed to grow independently, these plants grew in one cluster. During this period, swamps were created by the addition of soil and water. Due to the more abundant plants, swamps were created in an ecosystem that was very favorable for the insects that lived there. Also, the animals that lived in the water and the insects that lived on the land became food. Due to the greater willingness to take, many predators also came to the advantage of the land. Due to the growth of plants on the ocean floor, more oxygen was consumed by these plants. Due to these events, the oxygen for living things to breathe began to decrease in the ocean. As they got used to taking it, the caramels of many creatures developed into lungs. And because of the algae that grew in the water, homes were created for small creatures. Due to these reasons, the first amphibians, i.e. animals that can survive on land and water, not only began to come to land, but the fins of animals that lived in the ocean were also very well developed. Due to changes like these, they had to crawl to other reservoirs, so their fins had grown strong. Also, Echinodocecus had to make a revolution about 365 million years ago. They can be shown as a combination of fish and amphibians. Living on land was quite difficult. The main problem was that it was difficult to carry the oxygen obtained on land through the lungs throughout the body. With time, the strength of the legs grew and the ability to breathe on land for a long time also gradually developed. Living things spread all over the earth and evolved into dinosaurs according to various environmental factors. In this way, they grew in every corner of the whole earth. Now we have a problem as to why the organisms in the water came to land. The main reason for this was that some aquatic organisms adapted very well to that environment. There was no obstacle for them to live in the ocean, so those organisms were in the water itself. Decided to live, but such difficult creatures came to the land and found a better place to live. Over time, the mammals that evolved from you decided to go back to the ocean. The best examples are whales and dolphins. Life that came out of the water like this. A large number of animal species were created with various changes. Man is one of the animal species that was created in this way. By evolving like this, man is constantly looking for life in another place in the universe. And just like water spilled life onto the land, man is also looking for other places suitable for life. In the organism, the existing curiosity will one day create a good foundation to go to another place in the universe. We will say goodbye to this video for today with the intention of continuing to talk about such interesting and curious things that you don't know. Until we come back, have a healthy day full of curiosity. Continue to stay with us and let's end the details about the amazing topics that man does not come across in the journey of finding wonder. Truly, life is a very amazing and amazing creation. Let's continue to talk about such interesting and amazing topics. We will come today. If you want to know this, our channel, subscribe, like and comment.